Podcast Network Asia.
You are listening to First Metro Securities Philippine Stock Market Weekly Podcast, where we feature timely and relevant discussions on the Philippine stock market and the economy in the hope of providing you investing and trading guidance.
Hi everyone, I'm Joan and I cover the consumer sector for First Metro Securities Research. In this episode, I will discuss the latest company update for Emperador Incorporated. For our updated EMI report this January entitled Fairly Valued Tactical Trading Opportunity Ahead, we reinstated our coverage for the company with a hold call at a target price of 20 pesos. For the brandy segment, we think that this domestic business will continue to be under pressure due to the following reasons. First, based on data from Euromonitor, we see a shift in consumer preferences in favor of other spirit categories. In terms of volume, since its high in 2012 when brandy had a market share of 51%, it has been losing share in the spirit segment in favor of gin and rum. Brandy now only accounts for about 26% share in 2021 for the spirits market versus gin at 43% market share and rum with 28%. At the same time, there is also pressure from competition. While EMI still accounts for about 91% of brandy volume sold in the Philippines, it's basically the brandy market. The last 5 years has seen the rise of the Alfonso brandy with a stellar growth CAGR of 20% in the last 5 years. Alfonso is the flagship brand of the Keepers Holdings Incorporated, listed under the ticker Keeper. For these reasons, we expect downward pressure on margins, given the need to increase A&P spend, advertising and promotions, in order to defend the company's declining market shares. We also acknowledge that price increases may alleviate margin pressures, but this could backfire in the face of weakening demand for the brandy portfolio. So that's for the brandy. Moving on to the whiskey segment, we expect the segment to maintain its current revenue trends, given tailwinds from China reopening and the global travel retail recovery. In particular, with the increasing recognition of White & Mackay's iconic and coveted brands like Dalmore, Jura, and Tamnavaline, we believe that EMI is well positioned to capture the flow-through of Chinese pent-up demand, especially as more on-premise channels become available. We believe that this will more than offset any potential weakness across other markets such as the US and Europe, where the premiumization narrative could pause in the face of high inflation and downtrading. For margins, we expect price increases and improved product mix in favor of spirits to result in a 100 bps gross margin expansion of 47.4%. But we also expect management to channel some of the gains to support Western markets through A&P spend, and this results to an EBIT margin expansion to 28.6% in 2023 from our 2022 forecast of 28.1%. Aside from our assumptions on the brandy and spirit segment, there's also some trading opportunity from upcoming index rebalancing events. Given that EMI now has a higher free float at 20%, it could gain increased weight in the Philippine Stock Exchange Main Index or PSCI. Furthermore, EMI could be potentially added in the MSCI Philippines indices with its higher free float and larger market cap. To summarize, we have a hold call on Emperador with a target price of 20 pesos. We have shifted our valuation base to this year, raised our risk-free rate assumption to 6.5%, and adjusted their earnings to reflect our outlook in the next 12 to 14 months. Notwithstanding the challenging brandy segment, we see growth prospects of the whiskey segment to continue to drive earnings and valuations for the counter. Our 2023 forecast of earnings per share ratio is at 28.4 times, in line with global peers. So that's it for our EMI company update. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to First Metro Securities Philippine Stock Market Weekly Podcast. Don't forget to follow us to get first dibs on our new episodes. For more up-to-date market news and info, exclusive content, and the opportunity to connect with your fellow Filipino investors and traders, join facebook.com/groups/FirstMetroSec and be part of the First MetroSec family.
FirstMetroSec is providing this podcast as a general market commentary. Reference to any specific security, product, or entity do not constitute as an offer or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell any financial instruments or to participate in any particular trading strategy. The statements, comments, views, or opinions expressed by the hosts are subject to change without notice, and FirstMetroSec is under no obligation to update, amend, change, or correct any of the statements, comments, views, or opinions expressed. The statements, comments, views, and opinions expressed by the guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of FirstMetroSec. FirstMetroSec disclaims any liability arising from reliance on or reference to any information obtained in this podcast.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.